Apple just made the camera in the iPhone 18 Pro Max 50% more expensive to build. Not 5%, not 10%, 50. And the question nobody is actually asking is, are you going to pay for that? Because unlike the fixed aperture that has shipped on every single iPhone Pro since the 14 Pro, this lens physically moves. That is not a software update. That is not a marketing claim. That is a fundamental change to how this camera works. And I have thoughts on whether it actually matters to you. There is one specific scenario where this camera will either completely win you over or expose the biggest overreach Apple has made in years. We will get there. Hook version B, picture this. You're standing in a dark restaurant, ambient lighting, candles, whatever. You pull out your phone to take a photo, and instead of the camera just guessing, it actually thinks. The lens physically opens and closes to control how much light enters the sensor, similar to how your eye adjusts in bright or dark environments. That is the iPhone 18 Pro Max. And here's the thing, the variable aperture lens Apple is putting in this phone costs the company 50% more than what they used in last year's model, which means one of two things is about to happen. Either this is the most significant iPhone camera upgrade in a decade, or you are about to pay for a feature you will use twice and forget about. By the end of this, you will know exactly which one it is. The iPhone 18 Pro Max is a 6.9-inch device landing in September 2026. And this year, Apple is only releasing the Pro models in the fall. The base iPhone 18 is being pushed to spring 2027, which means every single iPhone dropping this September has a price tag of $999 or more. So if you are in the market for a new iPhone this fall, you are choosing from the expensive options only, no safety net. And the Pro Max, the one we are breaking down today, is shaping up to be one of the most genuinely different Pro Max models Apple has ever shipped. Not just iterative, actually different. Here's why that matters and where the line is between worth it and you are being sold a dream. Let us talk about the variable aperture, because I have seen a lot of coverage on this and most of it is missing something important. Unlike the fixed f1.78 aperture found on every iPhone Pro from the 14 Pro through the 17 Pro, variable aperture physically adjusts the size of the lens opening to control how much light reaches the sensor. In plain English, the lens has an iris now, like your eye. The technology allows the camera to switch between wider and narrower apertures depending on lighting conditions. In darker environments, the lens can gather more light for brighter photos. In daylight, it can reduce excess light while improving sharpness across the frame. That is real. That is not a software filter. That is hardware doing actual work. But here is where I pump the brakes. This is a feature commonly found in dedicated cameras, but remains rare in smartphones due to engineering challenges and higher manufacturing costs. So why has it taken this long? Because it is genuinely hard to build into something the thickness of a phone, and it costs significantly more. According to supply chain analyst Ming-Chi Kuo, the new variable aperture component has an average selling price roughly 50% higher than the 7-element plastic lens Apple currently uses in the iPhone 17 Pro's main camera. Now, let us put a real number on that. Based on community research, the iPhone 17 Pro Max camera module costs around $80 at the component level, which means the new module could cost approximately $120. That $40 increase raises the iPhone Pro Max's total bill of materials by roughly 10%. And that is just the camera. The question is whether Apple passes that cost to you. In March, supply chain analyst Ming-Chi Kuo said Apple was still likely to try to keep iPhone 18 Pro pricing steady, with starting prices for the Pro and Pro Max remaining at $1,099 and $1,199 respectively, or rising only slightly. Only slightly. I love that phrase. Okay, let us talk about the engine. Both the iPhone 18 Pro and Pro Max are expected to run on Apple's A20 Pro chip, built on TSMC's 2 nanometer process, Apple's first 2 nanometer mobile chip ever. And before your eyes glaze over, here's why the number matters. Smaller transistors mean more of them fit on the same chip. More transistors means more performance and more efficiency in the same space. The new silicon is projected to offer as much as 15% faster performance and 30% more energy efficiency compared to its predecessor, the A19 chip, 30% more efficient. That is not a spec sheet number that disappears in real life. That directly feeds battery life, which brings me to the part of this phone that I think is being underreported. Leaked figures point to a battery capacity of 5,100 to 5,200 milliamp hours, the largest ever in an iPhone. For context, the iPhone 17 Pro Max launched with 4,685 milliamp hours. That difference could deliver up to 40 hours on a single charge. 40 hours. Combined with a chip that is 30% more efficient than last year, if those numbers hold, and that is a real if, the iPhone 18 Pro Max might be the first phone that genuinely removes battery anxiety from your life. Not just improves it, removes it. And I'm not going to pretend I am not a little excited about that. Here's what almost every review is going to miss about the display. The iPhone 18 Pro models are expected to feature new LTPO Plus display technology, ensuring higher refresh rates and less power consumption than the current panels. Fine, iterative, expected. But there is a more interesting story. Reports suggest a massive jump in brightness from the current 1,600 nits high dynamic range and 3,000 nits peak, going significantly higher. Now combine that with a bigger battery and a more efficient chip. A brighter display usually murders battery life, but if the chip efficiency gains offset the display demands, you might actually get both. Brighter screen, longer battery at the same time. That is the interesting engineering question nobody's asking yet. Apple is also reportedly moving Face ID sensors under the display, which would make the iPhone 18 Pro the first iPhone with under-display Face ID components. The most likely outcome is a smaller dynamic island, a smaller pill cutout for the camera, remaining in its central position. Honestly, the dynamic island was clever, but smaller is better here. And if Apple ever fully kills it, I will not be writing a eulogy. Design-wise, the iPhone 18 Pro models may drop the two-tone look of the 17 Pro. Apple has reportedly updated the back glass to minimize the color difference between the glass and the frame for a more unified appearance, which is a change that sounds minor until you hold both phones side by side. The 17 Pro's two-tone back was a choice. This sounds better. And then there is the color. Dark cherry, described as a deep red with a tinge of purple, is expected to be the signature color for the Pro series alongside light blue, dark gray, and silver. Dark cherry. I do not know who at Apple names these things, but they have been eating lately. Cosmic orange last year, dark cherry this year. Meanwhile, Samsung's color lineup for the S26 Ultra includes black, white, and also black. Now, here's the thing I actually want to flag. The iPhone 18 Pro Max is expected to push over 240 grams, up from the iPhone 17 Pro Max at 233 grams. That is a heavier phone. And combined with a slightly thicker chassis to accommodate the bigger battery, the iPhone 18 Pro Max may come in around 8.8 millimeters thick. If you have been waiting for iPhones to get thinner, that is not this year. Apple made a decision, battery life over slimness. Honestly, correct call. This is the upgrade that barely gets coverage, and it might be the one that matters most on a daily basis. Apple is shifting to its in-house C2 modem, the second generation custom 5G modem, which should deliver better network stability, stronger signals, faster speeds, and reduced battery drain on 5G. Expect mmWave support, which was missing on the C1 modem and improved efficiency compared to Qualcomm's modems. Here is why this matters. The C1 was Apple's first attempt. It was fine. It was not better than Qualcomm at the high end. The C2 is Apple's second attempt, and Apple's second attempts are almost always where things get interesting. The C2 has also been associated with a potential 5G satellite connectivity feature, real satellite internet on a phone. Not SOS messaging, internet. If that lands, that is quietly one of the most significant features in any phone in years, and it is barely in the conversation right now. So, should you buy the iPhone 18 Pro Max? Here's my honest answer. If you are coming from an iPhone 15 Pro Max or older, yes, full stop, no hesitation. The A20 chip on a 2 nanometer process delivering 15% faster performance, variable aperture cameras, a 24 megapixel front camera, and full satellite internet connectivity. That is a meaningful generational jump. If you are on an iPhone 17 Pro Max, the camera upgrade is real, the battery jump is real, but you are already on a fast chip with strong battery life. The question is whether a physically adjustable aperture in a C2 modem is worth $1,199 to you. Some see variable aperture as a meaningful photography upgrade, while others argue that most everyday users may never notice the difference enough to justify the price. Both of those takes are correct. It depends entirely on how you use your camera. And here's the thing I keep coming back to. Apple spent 50% more on the camera component this year. That is not an accident. That is a statement that says, we believe this is where the next 3 years of iPhone photography lives. Whether they are right, we will find out in September. Leave a comment. Are you upgrading from the 17 Pro Max or waiting to see the real world camera results before you decide? Because I think the answer to that question is more interesting than most reviewers are giving credit for.